Chic Young.
Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Good. I met you already on the park. Did you not see me?
You're only interfering with the quality of the football.
That's what referees do, isn't it? That's kind of standard.
Stop the game.
Yeah, thanks for coming along, Chic. Chic, when we, I know you played walking football before, but it was kind of under false pretences at a festival that we had at Glasgow Green. When you first heard the term walking football, when was that and what did you think when you heard that?
Yeah, first time I was invited to play walking football, I thought I can't up my game to that kind of pace. So the concept, it isn't really what it says in the tin, is it? You know, there's more to it. It's brilliant. We played, to explain, there was a festival at Glasgow Green and the BBC. We did the programme from there, Sports Sound, one afternoon, and we had a team. We entered a team in the competition. I think we had James McFadden, Lee McCulloch, I think Barry Ferguson was playing. To balance all that, it was me. I was in the team as well.
You name dropper.
And we you know, against the odds, we kind of romped to the final. Then we scratched. So that, you know,
was that your first experience of it then?
I think it was. I think on that occasion, I guess, escapes my mind, I'd played. But yeah, and the boys, the thing about it is, the boys, these guys whose names are listed, they all loved it. You know, the concept. And it's still, you think, oh, well, it's not the same exercise. You don't, but as you get older, your body tends not to be able to do what you once upon a time could do.
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, well, trust me. but the boys, but you still really need the touch.
Yes.
And the ability to get, you know,
especially with the C touches.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you have to get used to, right, I've killed it, but I've only got 2 touches. Yeah, I think a lot of the guys watching today, they've taken 2 touches and they're not really in control of what they're doing next.
Yeah.
You got to think a wee bit ahead, pass the ball to people's feet, because normally if you're playing, you put
a head
in there, yeah. So you know, all these wee things, but I think it's terrific. And you know, I came off there today. I mean, I'm not in great nick anymore, but you know, I feel as though I was cycling before that. I was freezing. Came off there and I was sweating, so that's good. Yeah. It's great.
Never quite took your jacket off, right?
No. It's Glasgow, and it's.
It was windy. So you enjoyed it? Are you a convert then? Are you becoming a convert?
I don't need to be converted because I was never again it in the first place. But yeah, I would get. He gets you out and it gets the guys a bit of company and it's social. You go back for a wee cup of tea.
So you've no problem signing this Pollock contract then that I've got prepared?
Well, I've got other clubs on the list before I'll look around and see what offers I've got.
Listen.
It's great. Listen, it's great fun. And all we want to do, guys like us, you know, I've had a fantastic, got away with that career, being around the world, met superstars, which is amazing because I just love the game and I've always loved the game.
Yeah.
And I've been playing football teams since I was, I don't know, 6 or 7, and then you get to the age where you think, well, where am I going to get? I'll play football until
you can't anymore.
Until nobody will have me anymore, or you know, you can't.
Well, there's still a chance of being a winner because we've got a guy who's absolutely terrible now, so much so that he can't get in the Pollock team anymore. And we lent him out yesterday to Giffnock. And they won the wee tournament they were in.
Really?
So that's how fairy tales can happen.
Well, you never know.
You just never know.
You missed the bit about he scored the winner against his own team.
As you'll have guessed by now, it's the man who's operating the camera facilities.
I need to mention it because he'll make a whole edit of it.
Nothing else in this film now.
Chic, the reason we're here is because right back to 1959 you told me that you met David Kinnear. I went to school.
Oh, David Kinnear and I went to school, Moss Park. Just up, no.
Yep.
I walked a short tunnel from here, and we played in the same Lifeboy team, 59th Glasgow. So Davey actually is even older than me. I think he was a year above me at school. And then what happened was about 3 or 4 years ago, me and my buddy, who called Derek Anderson, who has been my lifelong buddy since we started primary school together, and this guy went whizzing past us in the park. We were out cycling, and he came back. Says, "Chic," and it was Davey, and I think he lives in Stornoway all the time.
Half the time, yeah.
So
because he gets the game up there, it's a game for them.
There must be a couple of sheep in the place. And anyway, he recognised me, and we got chatting, and that's why he put me in touch with all this. Great, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and 2 weeks ago we launched our memories session here, which is Sporting Memories Foundation.
Yeah.
And it's for people that are maybe a bit isolated or whatever reason to come along and take part. I know you couldn't make it then, but we'll do that another time.
Delighted to do that, absolutely.
It's part of why we do the walking football. It's the other side of walking football, is that social side that gets people our age out and about rather than in the shops, sitting outside shops.
No chance of me going
shop
to
centres.
No chance.
Check the football thing goes back to 19. How did you get involved in broadcasting? How did that come about?
The wind and the tide. Everything.
It's always the same, isn't it? It's always wee chances.
Yeah, just sliding doors, or you turn left or turn.
Did you ever have a real job?
I started my first job, not the I did when I left school. I spent the summer of '69 loading trains at Salkeld, parcel trains.
Loading them on the way or taking the stuff off? Because I know you're a power boy, really. Is that unloading?
Excuse me, I'm a Moss Park boy. I'm posh. Loading the train, and then I got a job. I always wanted to be a football reporter.
Right.
And I got a job, and I realised I wanted to be a player, and I didn't accept the ability, so that was never going to happen. And I realised Plan B, and even at school I took shorthand and typing classes at school, which in the '60s was a brave thing to do because I was the only guy,
a boy, in
the class of about 30 girls, which was brilliant. Obviously, 5th and 6th year girls, brilliant. So
you do the cooking as well.
I paid the rent. So we did that, and then I got a job and applied for every newspaper in the world, I think. And famously, one day I got 2 letters through my mum's letterbox. One was from the, funnily enough, Stornoway Gazette, and one from the Daily Record. One offering me a job, and one refusing me a job. Incredibly, the offer was from the Daily Record. So Stornoway has no idea what it missed out.
You know Alec Gordon?
I know Alec Gordon.
Yes. I've done a few interviews because he's an author now.
Yes, I know Alec. Yeah,
Ringwood Publishing.
Alec was a sports sub-editor in the Daily Record.
Yeah, because he's similar. That's what he wanted to do at age 16, which seems strange knowing what. And I think it's maybe half the battle is knowing what you want.
Yeah, to do. And then it was I worked in the Record for a couple of years, and then I went down to working local papers, and first one was in Girvan, the Carrick Herald, then the Irvine Herald.
On sports?
This time they didn't. Local papers don't have full time sport. So, and then my first full time football job was with the old Charles Buckins Football Monthly in London. In 1973, I went to London, and then I've managed to get away with it ever since. And I came back up the road. Radio Clyde had just started, and I started working with Radio Clyde while working. Eventually, I worked at the Daily Express. I could be here all this could tell MGM Grand Production. I start telling you about the jobs. Yeah. So
you've come full circle now, because everybody knows about your career in the last 20 years or so, and you've made it because on Saturday they sent you to watch Clyde.
Did
you do something wrong?
No,
you falling out?
It's a standing job.
You're ready.
So I had a career which I've gone round the world with the golfing games. I've covered 5 World Cups. I've been European Championships, Scotland, everywhere. And actually, people, you can't.
Did you ever meet George Best?
Yes.
Did you?
I was a ghostwriter on Mo Johnston's autobiography, and the foreword was written by George, which I wrote.
Right.
But this involved me and Mo Johnston and George Best having a night out in London.
One night. You had a night out one weekend.
I won't be telling you about that, but honestly,
still censored.
Still censored. So the point is, Pele, Muhammed Ali, all my heroes, but they still pay me the same money to go to as I was on Saturday at Clyde.
They pay you
Carnarvon
to do this.
I know, it's incredible. Trust me, I'm as amazed as you are. And Carnarvon, and the thing is, there's no easily parked right at the front door. And shortly before kick-off, I'm back in the car.
We sleep for
back in the car. 10 minutes. No, I love the beautiful game. 10 minutes after the game, I'm back in the car. I'm back in my gentleman's club for a beer by 6 o'clock. So that's the way you go. That's the way you go. I'm telling you. I'm not big time channel anymore.
So you were.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
What other names can we drop in there? Can you get any better than Pele?
No.
Not for me. George Best, Charlton, all these guys.
Yeah, the Gold there, and
Yeah.
you know, I was chairman of Jim Baxter's testimonial committee. If it's a name drum competition, I think I could give you a few. I was at a funeral, great era players, and you know, friends. We formed a great charity football team, Duke of Pumperson,
Yes.
and the guys that played that, and we, again round the world with them. You know, boys that I really love, Bobby Lennox, great
Yeah.
man. And, Jimmy Johnstone,
If
Bobby
Lennox was there, Jammers must have been there because I never saw the two of them apart.
I would not, but not a duper. Different social
Right.
habits, I think.
Okay.
Bobby liked a refreshment. So, great guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, Baxter played. Jimmy, I've got a photograph. Jimmy Johnstone, Baxter, Bobby Lennox, all in this team. And I'm the captain.
Did you win?
We never lost for the first 7 years.
Right.
That just, I mean, how could you lose?
Is that gone now? The
Yeah,
Purpose?
well, no,
Is that on
yeah.
the wayside?
A lot of the players are literally have left us to the
Yeah.
great football stadium in the sky. So,
We could
but
maybe look at a walking football team. Dukla.
you have a coffin football team, I think, to be.
Oh, dear.
What we could we compete. That was great. It was great. So all these medals. So
What a
I
career.
get
Yeah.
thrown into all that, and it was the wind of the tide, you know.
I suppose if, and anyone I've said, is there anything I should be talking to Chic about? They've nearly all said this, and I wasn't going to ask it, but I suppose I should ask you about the Walter interview, because that's what everybody
I'll
says
tell you
to
exactly about the Walter interview.
Yeah.
So it's 1993, I think it was. AK Athens, they get
Yes.
turned over. And now what you have to remember in all this, Walter and I were great buddies. We used to go
Yeah.
for lunches, and so they get the morning after the night before, we need to get something, and there was no press conference and all that. I said, I'll go and get it. So I go over to Ibrox with a guy, and if you've seen the famous videos,
In the
a cameraman called, because Walter says at one point, no wonder you're laughing, Billy.
Was he one of your fucking laughing boys? Billy? Walter.
You'll see the camera ball. And there's a guy called Billy Frew, God rest him, Billy's not with us anymore. So I go over, and his secretary Laura, and I've heard that Walter told me the other side of this eventually. He says, Laura says, Chick's here to see you. And Walter, tell me F off.
Right.
And Laura says, tell him, she says, we know what he's like. He'll not go away. He'll be here all day. And Walter says, I know he'll no go. Right, tell me to set up the tunnel. That's how it started. So he's a bad mood at the start. So in the tunnel, and we framed it, Billy framed it down the tunnel.
Yes, looking out to the park.
So Walter knew in these days that if he swore, all I need is a 30-second clip for reporting Scotland.
Right.
And Walter knew that if he swore, I couldn't use it. They would use it now,
Yes.
but in these days.
Yeah.
So you've seen the clip, he's effing good. Look at effing good. So, and I got to suggest, was Basil Volley and wasn't he good enough? And he went off his troll, you telling me. And what the bit you don't see, because he said something about going to the, you won a European Cup, and I had said something like, I've Tommy Gemmell won a European Cup, and he's very much good to you now. No, that was stupid. Because Walter,
Yes.
what you had to know about Walter was his eyes. He used to say to you, F off, but there was a F off, and you had to know the difference.
Yes, between the real effort.
But this was the ignited something. So this was a. So anyway, and of course, at the classic moment, such as the framing of the picture, that Archie Knox comes up the tunnel, and Walter turns and said, "Well, have you heard his effing questions?" And Walter says, or Archie says, "Tell him to stick his microphone up his fucking arse."
The interview, and we'll keep, well, he's coming out with what's straight
Ran
now.
that way with his fucking arse.
Because I am now fishing myself laughing. Billy, you'll see the camera. No one dare laughing, Billy, says Walter. Anyway, eventually I got something. Now I go back to the BBC and I look at it, and I got an answer I can use for Report to Scotland. That's
Yes,
fine.
yes.
Fine. But in these days, it was tape. It was actual tape.
Right.
And they used to recycle. You film, you come after you've edited it, you put it in a big bin to be recycled. I thought, I'm keeping this one in my drawer.
Brilliant.
So that Christmas, Because a memo comes round, it wasn't emails and these, a memo comes round, MD get any stuff, outtakes, we can make, the BBC make a Christmas film for in-house every year.
Aye, okay.
More time and effort spent in production than any documentary series. So this, I said, I've got this thing in me and Walter, put it in. Then so after New Year into '94, I always remember I was in Marseille and doing a story, and I got a phone call from the News of the World, and this boy says, "Listen, there's a video of VHS going around the pubs, grainy, of you and Walt Smith." And I said, "Right, let me stop you," and I explained the whole story as I've just told you.
Yep.
And the boy goes, "Well, it's getting shown in all the pubs and all that." I said, and I said, "The point is, I'm not embarrassed because I kept it. I thought it was hysterical." So that's what happened. And they ran the story, this thing was going to watch the pubs. So 10 years later, we're now into 2004-ish. And I remember this because I was bizarrely in Marseille again. And the News of the World phoned me up.
And one of your houses, were you over in one of your houses?
I'd love to say I have a house in Marseille, but I don't. I had a lot of houses, but I've given them away mostly. Anyway, in Marseille. And
we're not going to your marital life.
That. They give me a call, and the boy says, "There's this thing on YouTube."
Right.
And I went,
What
is YouTube? And the guy starts explaining, he said it's had 800,000 hits. What's a hit? So the boy explains to me, I said, "Well, listen, that's fine." And I had to explain the whole story again.
Yep.
About the News of the World 10 years earlier had used this. Oh, my boy went, so they ran the story for him. So, of course, I have to phone Walter. I said, "Well, that's fine." I says, "It's now on YouTube." And you can imagine Walter's first question is,
What
the fuck is YouTube? I stuck it in. So Walter says to me, "Right, there must be money in this. Say it's £1, because we had no idea of the concept."
No.
He said, "If it's £1 a hit, there's 1 million hits, we could give £1 million to charity." And I said, "Well, you can do what you want. So, and that's what, and then eventually, you know, great man, of course, I was just Walter flaring up at that time, and we used to talk about it, and a few months, a year or something before he passed away, he was telling me, we were out for lunch, and he says to me, I wish I'd never done that. He says, sworn at you and that thing." I said, "Why?" He says, "Well, the Grandwains are on YouTube, and they've discovered it." And he's the wee guy saying, "Grandpa, why are you swearing at that nice man?" So he was getting absolutely torn apart by his Grandwains. "That'll teach you. Get up, you."
Catches up with you.
I know.
He was some guy, wasn't he?
I loved him.
You've obviously had special relationships over all that time, Chic, and I'm guessing Walter was one of them. Who else in amongst there?
Well, I mean, Billy McNeil. My years in the Evening Times were fantastic. Billy McNeil, I was 79, and Celtic went on a pre-season tour to Germany, 10 days. And this is how things have changed. I was the only Scottish journalist on the trip. 10 days. And I was only about, what would I have been? I was 30 or something at the time. And I was pretty
Still
fit.
with the record?
I was at the Evening Times. And I was pretty fit. I was running marathons, actually. So I had been training with Celtic. And so he says to me this day, there's two things I remember that trip. He used to go right, and he gave me Celtic training kit, and I would train them. And he said, "You want to run back to the hotel? What do you mind? The bus after training them on? You go on the bus, and the bus driver, he said, no. I'm the new driver." And he used to say, "Right, don't start the engine till he signs the Celtic song." And I had to stand up with the microphone in the bus, the team bus. "Sure, it's singing, don't."
There's no YouTube of that, no?
It was even invented. But the story, he says to me this night, we're playing a team called Vesseling, amateur team, that night. He said, "I'm going to give two kids a game, John Halpin and Charlie Nicholas." And nobody had heard about them. So that's my story.
Yes.
For the Evening Times, I got Celtic with the back page lead, that tonight give a debut to two young unknown kids, Nicholas and Halpin, blah, blah. And then, and this is why I made it to the top of my business. Celtic won the game 10-0, and I remember every word of a match report even now. I wrote the next night. I was the only Scottish journalist here in Germany last night who looked on as Celtic whipped the amateurs of Vesseling by 10 goals to 0. Manager Billy McNeil gave a debut to the young starlets, John Halpin and Charlie Nicholas. Remember when you read it first, one of these kids is going to be a superstar. Watch this lad Halpin go.
If only you'd stopped before that last
Actually, John Halpin was a great player. He had a bad injury. But that was it. So Billy and my other great, these days, Graeme Souness. When Souness was responsible, again, my Evening Times days, for the whole, for putting my career into, over into the skies. Because I'd known him before that and going, well, we became manager of Rangers, and I was the outlet for every story.
Did you know him with the Scotland team?
I'd known him before that, yeah. And
so you were his trusted.
I story every morning, and he used to say you might want to phone, speak to him in the morning. You might want to phone Mark Gately, who was at AC Milan at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers might be. You might understand. I said, I hold it. I remember no more.
So you became the lead.
I was delighted. That was my job.
And you were his friend. The friend.
I was like,
because he hated everybody else. I remember we did a charity thing. I did a thing for. I worked at Govan at the time, Govan CID, and I did a thing for CF and phoned up. John Gregg owed me a favour. Long story. He put me in touch with whoever, and I phoned up, and it was Walter that I got, and I said, I was putting together a charity pool tournament.
Right.
McCoist was there, and Jim Kay, and so it was some of the world professional pool people were there, Ross McInnes and guys like that. And Walter said to me, "Do yourself a favour, son. Don't speak to Graeme about this." He was the assistant at the time, Walter. Go through me. Here's my number. Blah blah blah. Because Souness was just grumpy. I'd seen him a few times on the staircase, and he'd never spoke to anybody. You were the only person in Scotland that he was speaking to.
He was when we went to. So he's now 86, and he's, and he's. I'm still working at the times. We're going to the World Cup in Mexico. We were going to with 2 weeks altitude training. I had to learn how to drink at altitude with the team. Santa Fe, New Mexico, then Los Angeles. Before we went on to the World Cup itself.
Yeah.
So we're on the flight across the Atlantic with the team. Halfway across the Atlantic. Come here. He's up. We got. Not just a section of the plane, there's this whole row's empty, nobody there behind her. And he says to the stewardess, a bottle of champagne. Says, owns a bottle of champagne. I'm like, right, he says, tell me about it. I said, tell me about what? He says, Rangers. He says, I don't know. I said, what do you mean? He says, you're Glasgow, you understand.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I was brought to Edinburgh. I went to London as a kid. And never lived in Scotland again.
Never played football.
What have I got to do? What have I got to do as manager of Rangers? Oh, I said, interesting. And I said, like, this is. I cared not, but other people will. And for example, he was wearing a cross around his neck, and I said,
"It's a good starting point."
Well, I said, I don't care what you wear, but I says there are people who because these are darker days. Remember this?
Yes.
Yeah. And he said, so he started saying, I got that from my wife bought me that. I says, absolutely, I don't have a problem. You ask me what other people think, and then he said, I'm going to sign a Catholic. They turn around. So I'm sitting there drinking this champagne. I'm like, wait a minute, can I use this in the paper? Because are we just having a conversation? No. I said, look. Most professional journalists would take notes.
Yes.
I'm sure I've got a notepad somewhere. So he said, just you. And I've discussed this with him then. I think he was using me.
Yes.
I was delighted he used, but by the time I got to America, I phoned back to the office. I've justified the editor's decision to send me because with two of us, Alan Davison, God rest him, he's away, was with me. And he said to me, I think he used to get out because I phoned the paper when we got to America. I said, I think I may have a story or two. It was the front page, centre page, back page. I will sign a Catholic. And they broke a mould that needed absolutely breaking.
For sure.
And people now don't They don't even quite. I don't
No.
even. They wouldn't
Nobody
even
asks.
know.
No,
Nobody
that's
knows who's. And nor should you care.
Aye.
But it took a special man,
Yes.
and with Mo Johnston, a special man, and David Murray's balls to do that as well.
Mhm.
So as soon as, and then I was so my career started to go with that, and people and the BBC noticed, and other people I think noticed, and he took me to a new trajectory, and then he went to Liverpool. It was amazing.
It was a smart move on his part to sow the seed like that,
Yeah,
to spread the rumour
Yeah.
before the truth came.
yeah.
People don't realise now, anybody under a certain age won't recognise now how dramatic it was.
No,
But I remember it was a summer and reading the back page of one of the papers that Mo Johnston was about to sign for Rangers. And you had to read it. And I remember going about phoning pals and whatnot and saying, look at this nonsense. Anything for a headline, you know?
no, it was,
Because it was so...
and of course it was on the threshold of the deal with Celtic.
Celtic, he was meeting McNeil, he
Yeah,
signed for Celtic, wasn't he?
Aye.
So the whole thing was just incredible.
So it's great. So I had this access to another, even before that, and it was all, I can't bring myself to call Big Jock, Mr. Stein at Celtic, the respect. And I actually had to phone the manager of Rangers, manager of Celtic, first thing in the morning before trip. And I was a kid.
And they did that themselves in those days, the managers?
That's straight through to the desk. You know,
Wow.
it's impossible, I think, now for kids in my business to comprehend how it used to be. If these players are prepared, but, you know, media departments and all that stuff. You had a really... And
Yeah.
but Mr. Stein was saying...
The police were the same, Chick, of course, because I remember my old boss, Joe Jackson, would lift the phone and speak to... He had reporters that he would talk to
That's right.
and use them
Absolutely.
to leak certain
That's
things
right.
into the press, to solve
Absolute
crimes at the end of the day. But
I know,
that was the
I know.
relationship that we
And Mr. Waddell, well, he always had to phone Willie in the morning because in the afternoon he had like to be drama at lunchtime and he was a different man. Phone him in the morning, and I used to stay, honestly, the two of them, I used to stare at the phone, fuck up Curry, dial the number, and then Steen would say to me, where's your pals at Ibrox saying this one? Of course, I would blab out. Oh, Mr. Waddell's saying, I'd give him chapter and verse what was happening at Rangers. And Steen was clever. Steen was clever. Steen was really clever because what he would say, he would then say, if he had a wee story that he thought that would knock Rangers off the back page lead, you might want to be blah, blah, blah. Or if he thought that's a good thing Rangers have got, we're not going to get on the back page lead, he would just say, no, not much happening. So they were clever. They didn't need media departments, these guys, you know.
No.
They were clever.
And they were partly, it was their man management as well, with players. They had all the strings, didn't they? Everything.
I remember the Rangers centenary, and they never won the league. What did they? Was it their centenary? Or did they win? No, because it was a 9 in a row years. So anyway, whatever it was, the big centenary match, and he said, Willie Waddell said, we're going to have a celebration at Ibrox, and we'll have them singing the songs, but the real words to the Rangers songs. Does anybody know what the real words are? It was brilliant.
Could go on all day. Chick, you're a St Mirren fan.
Yes. And
How did that come
I'll
about?
tell you exactly. I'll tell you exactly.
Or is that just for the press?
No,
is
it's
that
bad.
just PR?
No. I'm weary trying. I just Jonathan Watson's done me no favours whatsoever.
No, that's for sure.
So, a brief history of that. Listen, I was born in Govan, brought not far from here, Mossbar, and I should have been. My pals were Rangers fans. The school I went to was a walk from Ibrox.
Right.
My big brother was a big Rangers fan. I was, but
You should have gone the way David Kinnaird went.
Davey White was easier Rangers.
Oh,
well, I was, but and I was a bit of because I don't know, it was too easy, and I thought I was a bit of a Hearts fan as a kid, bizarrely. But my dad died when I was only 5. My mother remarried, Alex, who was brought up in Corker Hill Place.
Right.
And then when mum and dad married, they were in, and he was a widower. My mother's a widow. They met. So I inherited a stepbrother, my brother Jimmy, who outstanding human being. And we were closer than any blood brothers would ever been.
Right.
But my stepdad was a big St Mirren fan. So
Ah,
I started to get infected.
And did he take you to Offstreet?
No, it was. So what happened was, as my career started to move, and I was in my 20s, and I used to kind of volunteer to do St Mirren games because I could take him to the game. And then I was when Alec Ferguson got the job, I was at the press conference about 4 years in the boardroom, and I was able to get access, and I could get him in the good seats.
Yes.
And you started, and it was
Was there
only
good
then.
seats at Offstreet?
And there was only.
In the bar?
Well, there was only, and you start to feel yourself
I'm a
getting
Jags man, that's
infection.
why I can say that.
Imagine a Jags man giving the mighty
Terribly.
seats. Anyway, so I started to get. I thought, oh no, I'm getting this St Mirren disease thing, and I started to give it a lot of affection. Alex Smith and Jimmy Bone came in, great guys. My dad died a few months after we won the cup in '87. They came to the funeral, and I just started to fall in love with St Mirren. And that is it. And of course, it doesn't matter who.
How many times you say it?
You're stuck to one of the big two,
Of
really.
course.
You just go, do it, say you want, but that is the truth of the matter. And I am delighted in cheering on St Mirren and victories against.
So apart from being a St Mirren fan, you're a football fan, really?
Love the game.
Yeah.
I watch games on television for. Doesn't matter what time, day or night it is, or
Right.
what even these channels run now. The old games, the big match from the '70s and all that. I'm just addicted to football. It is like a drug.
Chic, I know you have to rush off. Maybe we'll do this again when you come back and play with the boys.
Yeah,
You're welcome anytime to come back and get a game.
And if you haven't played football, get into it. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Chic.